So one thing I wanted to bring up, what would be like another idea if they don't want to do free tasting?
Okay.
What would be an idea to do? Maybe you can say, take off the free, take out the free, just say tasting up to 6 people and let them put their contact info. And then when you're talking to them, you can basically come up with a price then and just say, look, this is the price we charge just to cover our overhead. And you can do it that way. Right, Alan?
Well, and you could say we charge, but we apply it towards your event if you book.
I like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Some of my clients don't charge for tastings, but they only do them after somebody books. Some of them charge for tastings whether you've booked or not, right? Some of them charge for a tasting, but I'll apply that towards your wedding or event if you book. There's all different ways to do it.
That's awesome, because that's how we used to do when I was in construction. We did the design, and then if they went with us, we threw it in with the construction. We would just take that amount off. So yeah, that's a great idea.
And you don't have to, but again, it's a marketing tool. And
exactly.
these are all marketing ideas. If you're going fishing and you drop a hook with no bait on it, you might catch a fish, or you might catch some kelp or a boot or something that's in the water. But if you're going fishing, you want to put the right bait for the type of fish that you're trying to get. So what you're saying is, if I get people that are interested and they say, oh yeah, I'd like to come out and I'd like to do a tasting, right? Now you have them as a captive audience, right? They're not on Facebook with all these other people there. They are sitting there and they're having food and they're having a good time, and you have the opportunity to sell, but you have to look at it as a selling opportunity. You can't just say, well, I gave them free food, and if they're interested, they'll let me know. No, you have to try to make that sale right there, because you got them to come in. Think about the investment that they've made, personal investment, to take their time to come out and do that. That's a big investment. That's a big investment. And that shows interest. So
exactly. And here's another thing I want to bring up. We've heard the power of reciprocity. You know, as human beings, how bad do we feel when we get a Christmas gift, right? It's Christmas and we get a gift and we don't have anything for the other person. We feel really bad about that. And we go out of our way to go buy something, or we say something, I ordered you from Amazon, it just taking too long. We throw that game in, right? So when you dine them and you do all these things, they're like, you're just going to blow their mind. You're going to blow their mind. And you got to differentiate yourself from the other caterers, especially if you're starting out and you're struggling. Go ahead, do this. And if you tell me right now, oh, Al, I work from a commercial kitchen, I don't know what to do. Well, here's what you do. You go talk to a local venue and you say, hey, John, I'm a caterer and I want to bring somebody to do a free tasting. Can I cook this in my commercial kitchen and then bring it here, and you can showcase your stuff? And if we close the deal, I want 10%.
Yeah.
Right, Alan?
Yeah.
I would do that. I would do that all day. I would work with flower people. I would work with venues, photographers, and I would always bring them in when I did the tasting.
Yeah.
I take that
make
back.
it an event. You have to make it into an event is what you're doing.
I wouldn't always do it. If I'm closing a wedding catering deal for like $5,000 or $3,000, I wouldn't do all that. But if I was closing a deal for $25,000, I would, because they're investing $25,000 with me. I want to make sure I give them value, as much value as I can. So I make sure a photographer is there with his portfolio. I make sure we're in a local venue, and venues love that. Venues love working with caterers, right, Alan?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, listen, they need both. They need a place to have it, and they need the food. So if you have a good relationship with that venue and you could bring them business, why not?
Exactly. And it makes you look good because you're solving their problem. Now they don't have to go look for a photographer. Now they don't have to go look for this person or that person. But you just want to make sure it makes sense. So I always had a few photographer in mind, a few venues, because I look at their budget. Because I wouldn't I wouldn't like if a caterer would come in for at like $10,000. I knew their budget was pretty tight, and so I wouldn't go high. I wouldn't bring the top photographer I knew. I would bring somebody that just got started, and they would give a decent price, like $1,500,
Well,
$2,000, and
we're
they would.
only as good as the people that we know because we can't do everything. So you want to have that. We used to call it a Rolodex, although the people now don't know what that is. But we have this where, oh, this is the right photographer for them. Listen, if photography is important, they might spend more and go to that other photographer, but they might want to save on decor or save on the music or save, and vice versa. If music most important, they'll go with the more expensive music, but they might save on something else. So the key is you want to be a resource for them. And when you're having an event, you want to create this event and have them come in and be able to plan their whole event right there. And now it benefits everybody.
Exactly. So when you ask the right questions, you're gonna know what kind of a person is coming to do the free tasting. Okay, you already figured out how much they want to spend, so you have to prepare yourself. You have to prepare yourself. Give them ideas. Maybe they want to do a backyard wedding. Right now, backyard weddings are huge because it's outdoor. So what does that mean to you? Hook up with a rental person. Find a rental person. Find someone that's extravagant and very expensive, and find someone that's in the low end. So you have those options. So you know when the person coming is in a budget, you go with the guy that's, can accomplish that can get it done. Because that's how you get them excited, and they sign. Like I said, 90% of the and don't let them go. Have a one-page agreement right there on the table to slide it and put it there before they leave and collect some kind of deposit. You don't have to charge $2,000. Don't tell me, we charge 50%. No, they're there. Get a little something. Get a little something. Even if it's
money is the commitment. People are like, I need to write up a whole proposal. I need to do this. So if those of you that weren't on earlier when Al and I were talking, I said, if we go out to dinner, we choose the restaurant, then we choose what we're going to eat. So you as a caterer can get them to commit to choosing you. You can give them a range and say, okay, well, depending upon the menu you choose, you're going to be between, and whatever your prices are, between $35 and $55, between 85 and 115, between 300 and 400, whatever it is, and say, we're going to work on that menu, but first we need to make sure I'm available because we can only do so many events that day. Maybe it's one, maybe it's more, depending upon your company. But let's get them to commit to wanting you, and then we'll work on the details there. So for my business, same thing. I can do a contract with someone, but you sign a contract and I have no money, we don't have a deal. I have a deposit. We haven't done the contract yet. I'm available for your day.
Yeah, exactly. Good point. So yeah, this is exactly what I would bring up, Alan. I would say, we want to lock in your date. Okay. And this was a $10,000 job that's coming in mind right now. And usually I would charge 20% to save the date, but there was some hesitancy in the group and I could feel the energy. So instead of asking for $2,000, Alan, I asked for $200. I said, if you give me $200 right now, I'll save your date.
Right.
You can give me a credit card right now. And they're sitting in my restaurant at that point. This was the one that was closing the restaurant. So they're like, sure. They didn't even think twice because I knew there was that excitement and they wanted to move forward. But if I would have said 2,000, they would have done one of these. They would look at each other.
And here's the thing. You get what you ask for. So you went from 2,000 to 200. 500 might have been okay with those people, but you asked for 2, so they gave you 2. You could, for people listening, say, hey, I need more than that. Yes, you're going to get more, but you're going to set up the payment terms so that you're going to get more. You're not saying you're giving me 200 and that's it.
No, exactly.
200
Sorry,
today
I didn't explain
and then
it.
more.
I didn't explain it. 200 just then on the table.
Right.
And then 2 days later, I send them an email and I asked for the rest of the deposit. And they paid it because they already committed to that. And then, because when you buy something, like when I bought you one of your books, Alan, what happened? I bought another book. I bought another. When you do business with someone, you want to do more business with them. So look at it that way. It's like a psychological game you're playing. So don't always stick to the way you do business. Oh no, this is what we do.
Right.
No, look at your customers. Look at your customers. You're there to help them.
Right.
And and look at it this way. When you're spending money on ads, you have skin in the game. You're gonna try your best, right? To accommodate them
Right.
and make money at the same time. Because that deal just paid for 6 months of my Facebook ads. And boom, boom, boom. It's coming in and it's going. It's like a rotation. You gotta keep going. Like what is it? You said something about ads, Alan. You said you constantly have to have
Have to
some
be,
kind of
you have to be consistent because your future leads and your future business are what you're doing today. So there's an old expression. Maybe you've heard this, Al. When is the best time to plant a tree? Have you ever heard that, Al?
yeah, yesterday.
20 years ago. 20
20
years
years ago, yeah.
20 years ago, right? Now you have a tree. When's the second best time to plant a tree? Today.
Today. Today.
So I said this on a webinar the other day. I'm doing a free webinar tomorrow. I'm going to talk about it again. You need to consistently be advertising and marketing so that you're never slow. If you pull back on your advertising because you're busy now, and 2021 for a lot of people is going to be get a lot of weddings into a short amount of time, right? You're going to be really busy. And if you let up on the marketing engine, you're going to suffer in the future because those people that are booking those future events, you won't get them. You have to keep doing that, and you have to keep your eye on the ball and say, I need to be marketing all the time.
Right.
I had, when I was going out to speaker events, which I haven't done in a while, but hopefully again, a lot of speakers would say, how do you stay so busy? And I say, it's not one thing, it's everything, right? All the things that I do, this is part of my marketing. My books are part of my marketing, speaking at events, consulting, going on people's podcasts. It's all part of my marketing so that when somebody thinks about, hey, I need someone to train my sales team, they're like, well, we need Alan, right? It's like they're just thinking about me. So advertising and marketing, you want to try new things. You want, like, if you're not doing Facebook ads now, and maybe they didn't work before, but maybe it wasn't Facebook's fault. Maybe it wasn't the right photo, right? Maybe it wasn't the right call to action. Maybe it wasn't the right lead generation tool. Maybe it wasn't the right offer or whatever you're doing there. Try something else. Just because something doesn't work the first time doesn't mean you don't try again. You just try
Right.
something different and say, well, maybe now it'll work. So, and here's the other thing: you don't need a lot of leads to close business. You just need the right leads.
Right.
So people get confused. Say, well, I only brought in 5 leads. Okay, well, what'd you do with them, right? If you
Right.
responded once and then just left it alone, that's your fault. Because I mean, I teach, Al, I teach it in my books and I teach in person. You're going to be responding, trying at least 5 times before giving up on a prospect. And if you
Right.
gave up before that, that's your fault, not theirs.
Right. So, Alan, let's get into this. So
Okay.
now that with this ad, they got the lead, and let's keep the same topic in mind, and we're doing a tasting. Okay. So, what is a few questions, or what should the caterer that received this lead do? They have an email, they have phone number, and they have a name. And like I said, when you do lead generation, Facebook will create the form for you, so you don't have to worry about your website or landing page. You
That's
just
it.
have to put in information. So after they get this lead,
Mhm.
what should they do?
Okay. Time is of the essence because a Wedding Wire survey said that 50% of their couples actually chose the first person who responded. So
How many percent?
50.
Wow.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
this came from Wedding Wire.
Came from Wedding Wire. Yeah,
Wow,
it's from
they know their data.
yeah, they're really great on their data. So when somebody makes an inquiry, the quicker you respond, the more they're still in the mindset of when they made that inquiry, right? They were shopping around. This ad popped up because they were looking around for wedding stuff, and it's like, oh, wedding caterer, wedding venue. Wow, let me look at that. They click that. If you responded immediately, they're still thinking about it, right? So I know
Right.
you can't always respond immediately. So don't take me wrong here that you have to respond immediately. It helps, but you don't have to respond immediately. You respond as quickly as you can. And your goal is to get them to reply back to you, to not get ghosted. And I do master classes on this. I've written a book about this called Why Don't They Call Me? I have a master class coming up next week on this very subject. It's how to respond to inquiries without getting ghosted. Let me give you the short story. You want to respond quickly. You want it to fit on one screen of their smartphone because they're probably reading it on their phone. You want to ask them a question that they will answer right away. And the question is not, when do you want a phone call? The question is not, when do you want to come in and have a meeting or tour with me? And the question is not, what's your budget? Those are all high commitments. You don't want to go right for the high commitment, right? Al, if you walk into a bar and you see someone cute sitting at the bar and you're like, oh, look over there. And you walk over to the bar and you say, hi, want to get married? No, you wouldn't do that, right? You would say, excuse me, is this seat taken, right? Let's ease our
Yeah.
way into this, okay? So a low commitment question is
So, but keep in mind, Alan, they already they were interested in the tasting. They gave phone number and
right,
email.
right. So
Well,
if that's the offer, then you're one focused, like you said. Their focus is, hey, I want the tasting. Your focus is, thanks so much for reaching out to Al's Catering. We can't wait to meet you at the tasting and show you how delicious the food can be at your wedding. Now, here's the thing for you is you can either have set days and times that you do the tasting, or you could arrange with them. So if you don't have a set day and time, right? If it's not Thursday at 6 o'clock is when it's going to be done, you would go back and say, let's arrange the time for you to come in and have an amazing meal. Now you're going to ask, it's a choice of two. Is during the week or the weekend better for you? And that's it, you're
okay,
done. You're done.
that's it.
Question
Okay.
mark, read what you wrote because
So
autocorrect is
they
not your
got the
friend.
lead. They got the lead to do a tasting,
Mhm.
and the question that you said is,
Right. So it's going to be a short message, fits on a phone. So, hi, Susan. Thanks so much for reaching out about having your tasting of amazing food that you can have for your wedding. Let's schedule a time for you. And this new paragraph is, and that choice of two, it could be, is during the week or on the weekend better for you? Or is during the day or in the evening better for you? Or is Tuesday at 4 or Thursday at 7 better for you? Choice of two, because they could come back and say, hey, I can't do those times. Could you do this? Or if you said weekday or weekend, right? It's going to be one of the two, right? It's either the weekday or the
right,
weekend. If you
that's a
said
great point.
daytime or evening, well, it's either better for them during the day or the evening, so they'll tell you that. So let's say they came back and said, hey, evening's better for us. You say, terrific. How about Wednesday at 6 or Thursday at 7, which is better for you, right? Which is better. And if
Okay.
they came back and said, hey, can you do Wednesday at 7? You say, sure, we can do Wednesday at 7, and you're scheduled. So the key with messaging, whether it's text messaging, whether it's email messaging, whether it's Facebook messaging, whatever it is if you want a response, you have to ask them a question. But the question has to be the last thing there before your name, otherwise you've buried it, right? If you put a question, if I said, what's better for you during the week or on the weekend? And then I said, I look forward to hearing back from you. We can't wait to meet you, whatever. You've just buried it. They're not going to see that because we don't read, we scan, right? So we
So
scan.
basically, got it. So you're saying do not talk two paragraphs about how great you are. Do not talk about your accomplishments. Do not do any of that.
Right.
Just get straight to the point because they showed interest. They want to do tasting with you. And how about in the subject line if you're doing an email response?
Okay.
What do you suggest in the subject line, Alan?
Um, we're setting the table for your tasting now.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
Okay. What you want to do is people are scanning who sent the email and the subject line. And they're determining whether or not I should read this particular email right now or move on to the next one, right? Because all of our inboxes, I'm watching mine behind my phone here now. My inbox just keeps flowing, right? Just more stuff's coming in. You want to be the one they stop at and read. So what am I looking at is who sent this and what's the subject line, right? And do I want to read this? So you want to make sure that yours is the one they go, ooh, it has to relate to what your offer was. And then it has to be something that they'll go, I want to stop and read that right now.
I love that. We are setting your tasting
We're
table.
setting
Something
we're
like that.
setting we're setting the table for your tasting now.
There you go. That's cool.
And then just put like a dot 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 or something like that so that they They then go in, and then inside it's, hi, Susan. Thanks so much for replying that you'd love to have a free tasting with us. Again, if it's a free tasting page, you guys decide whatever that is. Let's arrange a time for that. This is mono-focused. We're not saying, and we're a fine caterer and we've won this award and that award. No, 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 no. Right? That's not your point. Now, some people are thinking, well, but what if they can't afford me? If you wanted to pre-qualify them, if it wasn't already in your ad or on your landing page or whatever, you could say, thanks so much for reaching out. We'd love to have you have a free tasting. Our wedding catering ranges from $45 to $145, and we'll show you all the different options at your tasting. Let's arrange a time for your tasting. And this way, at least they could come back and say, ooh, you know, we only had $10 a person to spend. We're not the right one. We're not the right one.
Good point.
So that the price range can, even if it's a wide range, can qualify them. And this is why if you test this and you end up getting a lot of tire kickers who just want a free meal, then you might want to either decide to charge for it or do a group tasting so that you waste less time with those people, or you might want to qualify them ahead of time and say, let's set up the time, let's arrange that time, and then let's still have a communication and say, okay, now before we come in, let me get some more information so I can, you know, have the right type of menu, the right things for you. How many guests were you expecting? Right? They come back, tell you what that is. Then you can say, do you already have a venue chosen, or were you looking for us to help you find one? Right? Now, if you see the venue, like, okay, is it a beautiful venue? Is it a museum? Is it the VFW hall? Right? Let's see where it is. Try to get an idea of, is this the right fit? And if you do get to the point where, you know, based upon what you're saying, this is the style of food, this is whatever, you're looking at somewhere in this range. Does that work with your budget? And if they come back and say, gee, you know, that's going to be too much, you could either try to continue the conversation, but you could also not do the tasting then.
Right. It's interesting you brought that up. So what if the caterer calls the lead, like what conversation should they start to get an idea of, like, okay, what are these people's budget and are they going to be a good fit without like asking, you know, yes or no questions? Like, how would you deal with that?
Yeah, yes or no questions are only good when you either know the answer or the answer doesn't matter and you're trying to create a feeling. So if I said, you know, Al, were you looking to have, you know, unique creative food for your wedding? Right? Right. It's a yes or no question, right? Yeah. But, you know, it's different than, are you looking to have chicken fingers, right? It's a different kind of question. Right. So if you ask their budget before you've given them any idea of what you charge, they're probably not going to be straightforward with you because they're going to hold back, right? If they have $50 a person to spend, they'll tell you 35, right? Just because why should I spend 50 if I don't have to? Let me not, you know. But if you said, listen, this is our range, where were you guys looking to end up? And if I said, well, we go from, you know, $30 to $95 a person for something like that, where are you looking to be? And they said, well, we'd really rather not go above 50. Hey, we can come up with a great menu for you because you've been transparent with them. You've given them information first. Right. I think that's important that we show that we're being transparent and then we ask the budget because let's face it, you've done it and I've done it. Somebody said, hey, Al, how much do you want to spend on that new whatever? And you're like, all right, I have $3,000 to spend. I'm going to tell them $2,000, right? Yeah. Because I'm holding because I know that you're going to tell me, you're going to try to sell me something else on top of that. So I'm going to tell you $2,000. So the key is that at every stage, it's like a relay race, right? If I have a baton and I hand you the baton, then you hand it to the next runner, we want to not drop it. So when that ad works, you get the lead. Your goal is to get them to the next step. So if it's a free tasting, I think you have a right to ask
You're talking about this ad, when this ad works.
Right. So the idea is that if you're going to do a free tasting, you have a right to ask for that phone call first because you're offering them free food, right? So you're saying, okay, so the next step would be, now you will get some people that will drop off at that point because maybe they were just looking for a free meal, and that's okay because you're not wasting your time with them. You might get some legitimate prospects you lose because they just don't want to get on the phone with you. But again, it's your sandbox and your toys. So you get to set the rules. But then you could have that conversation, or you could just choose to have that, pardon me, that conversation via email, and that's fine as well. Is to say, let me ask you these questions. So we arrange for the tasting. We get the date and the time first, and I like to do that first because now you have a commitment. Now they're thinking Thursday at 7, they're coming, right?
Mhm.
Say, all right, let me get some more information from you now. Have you guys already selected a venue, or are you still, or do you want me to help you find one? And they could say it's in the backyard. We have a venue. We see some venues we like. We haven't booked yet. Well, now maybe you could help find a venue. And like you said, Al, you might get a referral fee from that venue for bringing that couple to one of your venues. Okay. They come back and say, okay, we have the venue. Compliment them on their choice. If you've never worked there before, go look at the website of that venue. Go take a look and say, wow, that's a beautiful venue. Your wedding's going to be gorgeous. And then let's ask them another question. Like, were you having both your ceremony and reception? Are you having both your ceremony and reception at the same location? Right? Let's say they're not. Well, you as a caterer, do they need to have some cool beverages because we're in Southern California or Florida or whatever, and you want to have some cool beverages? Well, now you need to have stuff at a different location. You want to build this in your head, right? How many guests are you expecting? They come back and they say 150. Or if they already told you how many guests, say, you said 150 guests, is that your invitation list, or is that how many you're expecting to actually attend, right? You can ask. So you can ask confirming questions. I see that you have the venue. That's a great venue. Have you already booked it, or are you still working with them, right? If you don't have
Mhm.
it, do you have your venue booked, or were you looking for us to help you find one? So those are the type of questions, but you only ask one at a time, just like in a real conversation, one at a time, and then you wait for an answer. That's the key, and it should fit on one screen of a phone. If you don't know what fits on one screen of a phone, start BCCing yourself, and then look on your phone and go, oh, you know what? I thought that was one screen. That's actually two, right?
Right. What if you say you're trying to get their budget, and you know how some people, they think they're smart by not saying what their budget is.
Mm-hmm.
So you basically say, how do you deal with that? Because I remember, when I was running my catering business, people would play with me like that. They're like,
Right.
well, we don't know. We're open-minded, and they have a number, but they just want to feel you out. So
Well,
is the best thing
but
to
that's the
give a range?
yeah. So that's exactly the point. If you have not given them any idea, then some people are going to be coy because they don't want you thinking, well, I'm going to charge 50, but if they tell me 80, I'm going to say sure, 80 is fine, right? So that's why they're doing that, because of the lack of transparency. So what you do is you say, I don't have enough. Well, let me tell you this. There's 4 ways you can talk about price. One is if you have all the details and you can give them a number, ask for the sale, right? I have all the details for your wedding, or you're telling me, listen,
But
all I,
this is keep in mind, this is early on after they got the lead.
right. But so you don't have all the details, so you can't give them a price, right? So that one's out. The second one is to not tell them yet, which I'll give you. The third is to do a starting price, which I hate because there's too big of a range. And then the fourth is to actually give a range. So if you don't want to tell them yet, what you say is, hi, Susan, I'd love to give you pricing information. I want to make sure that I don't leave out anything that's important to you. And I certainly don't want you to pay for stuff you don't need. So let me get some details right so I can give you the right price. And then you ask the first question. The other way to do it is to say, I don't have
Ooh, I
enough
love that.
I don't have enough details to give you an exact price, but I can tell you that our wedding catering ranges from here to here, or our wedding prices range from here to here. Most of our couples end up around here. Where were you guys looking to be? Right? So if I said to you that our wedding catering goes from $35 to $135, where were you guys looking to be? And you said, well, we'd like to stay between 50 and 60. We can come up with a great menu for you, right? But if you say I go from 35 to 135 and they have a budget of $20 a person, maybe the conversation should be over, right?
Right.
That's why. So what you got with the people being coy is because you hadn't told them anything, and they're like,
Right.
well, I'm not going to tell him until he tells me.
So what if your lowest package starts at $55, right?
Uh-huh.
So would you give a range of like 55 to 100, or would you?
Well, I want you to know your real range. So what I do with my clients is we look at not the complete range of everything you offer, but the complete range that your couples actually choose. And the easiest thing, it's not as easy now because 2020 is kind of a throwaway year, but in the normal times, you just pull up a spreadsheet of all of the weddings you have booked. And if you do other types of events, do corporate on another page, do mitzvahs on another page, do quinces on another page or whatever. So I would have the first column would be their name of the couple. The second column would be the date. I like to put the day of the week so you can see the difference between a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, whatever. The price, the number of guests, and then the columns are the way you sell. So do you sell packages or do you sell a la carte? How do you have that? And then we just sort low to high, and you're going to have small weddings to big weddings and simple weddings to fancy weddings, and you'll have a range. Now, if the bottom doesn't really represent your bottom, then you could throw that one out. And if the top is like crazy high above your top, you don't have to quote that high. But you want a big enough range so they see what you're capable of. And what most people spend is going to be at the middle or below the middle. You don't want it to be at the top. I had somebody came to my masterclass. She was quoting 6,000 to 10,000 plus. I said, what do most people spend? She said, well, 8 to 10. I said, no. You're telling you need to spend at the top. That's what you just said is 6 to 10 plus, and you're spending up here. So we changed it to 6 to 20 plus. Most people are 8 to 10, and now they're much, much lower on that scale. And she does $20,000 events. She does $30,000 events, but we're saying 6 to 20 plus, which leaves that open. What does plus mean, right? It's just a bigger number over there, 6 to 20 plus. But most people are 8 to 10. And she's being real. It's really what it is 8 to 10 is what most people spend. So that way, people that have $3,000 budgets, they don't reach out to her. People that have 20,000 and more still will, but people that are somewhere in that 8 to 10, that's about her sweet spot there. And that's the thing with the caterers here. If you guys are listening, yes, you have a big range, but if you were to make this spreadsheet, I think you'll find that more people ended up in a tighter range because it's what you sell. This is what you sell. So you're going to end up there. It's like, yeah, you worked in restaurants, for so long. Every restaurant's got a range, and yes, they can get a hamburger. But realistically, people are coming to your restaurant for fill in the blank, lasagna and this or that, or they're coming in for, hummus and baba ganoush and whatever it is, whatever it is you sell, they're coming in for that, and that is in that range. That, like the other night, my wife and I went. We have a whole bunch of restaurants by us that do like gyro meat and shawarma and stuff like that, and we're making it our effort to try them all because we love it. So we're trying them all, and we had gone to one, and it was good. And then the next night we went to a different one, and it was better, right? So I'm looking at the menu, and you know what? Yeah, they have cheap stuff, and they have really expensive, like they have lamb chops, which I love, and I will get one of these days. But realistically, I'm not going there to get lamb chops, right? I'm going there to get, a gyro with rice and hummus and baba ganoush. This is what I had, right? Getting that. But we're going to go there and we're going to spend $25 every time we go, right? That's what it is. I could spend 5. I could spend 50. But we're probably going to spend 25. And if they were to say, listen, we have things that go from $5 to $50, most people are spending about $10, $12 a person. It would be a true statement. Right. But it's not a dollar.
Right. So I was just thinking of like when I was running my restaurant and catering business, first it was just like a New York deli style. We just had New York style pizzas and all this. And then I went in, took over from my father. I added the catering, and I was just starting out. And I would just get excited when I would get catering calls. I just wanted to please, and it worked great, Alan, because I didn't mind being affordable because I'm just starting, right? And I was online doing Google ads, getting the leads in, and I realized because I would get some calls from people saying, I want this, I want that, and then I'm like, okay, that's going to be about $75 per person, and then I realized, okay, there's a lot more work into that from going from $35. I was so happy with the $35 per person because you were in and out. I'll make $2,000, boom, done. We set up the buffet. or we did Italian food with our blush sauce, and everybody would rave about it. And then when I try to do some high end jobs, people get pickier. There's a lot of expectation goes up,
Yeah.
and then I realized I need to back up from this. So what I'm trying to get to is like, what should people do when they're stuck in that? And now that I look back, is that I should have just been that guy, just
Well,
been the
that's the thing
$35
is
a person, because I was
that's
loving it. I was in and out. People were happy, and I was killing it. I was getting jobs all the time. And then I tried to go higher, and it wasn't really my game. And because, it's,
well, that's what you just said. That wasn't your game. It's somebody else's game. And you have to
yeah,
choose, we call it choosing your lane, right? So do you want to be the elegant upscale caterer? Do you want to be the everyday caterer? My brother-in-law owns a deli down in Florida, right? It's a traditional New York Jewish style deli, right? And corned beef, pastrami, chopped liver, all the traditional stuff there. And they do catering platters of meats and things and sandwiches and whatever. That's their lane. You don't go to him for steak and lobster, right? And
yeah,
and 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 that's your lane. So what you found is you can be profitable and maybe sometimes more profitable at $35 than at 75 because you need more staff, you need the supplies cost more, it takes longer to prepare it, the expectation is higher, all that kind of stuff. You have to be careful what you ask for. I remember a florist in Ireland, I was over there, and she was telling me that she had this job, that it was an American couple coming to Ireland to get married, and she's figuring this out, and she's like, this is going to be the biggest wedding she's ever done, like by far the biggest wedding she's ever done. And she figures out the price, and she's scared to tell the customer because it's the highest number she's ever had to quote somebody. And it turned out that she went online and went to some floral groups, and she say, hey, do I have this right? I don't want to, blow myself out of the water here. It turned out it wasn't expensive enough because she needed a bigger truck that she'd have to rent. She needed to hire more staff. Her refrigerator, her refrigerator wasn't big enough to hold all the stuff if she prepared it early. So here she thought it was too much, and it actually wasn't enough. She would have actually profited less if she had quoted that job the way she originally was going to quote it instead of quoting it the way that she should have. So know your lane, right? And say, this is my lane. This is what I want to have. And if your lane is $35 catering, I can do this all day long and knock this out, in and out,
yeah,
profit, no extra staff, whatever. That's an okay lane. Somebody's got to be in there.
yeah.
Not everybody, but somebody's got to
Because
be there.
because what happens is that when you start thinking, oh no, I'm gonna get that. They want to
Yeah.
spend $85. And what you end up doing is you end up spending all this time and energy. You put all this together, and then they're like, oh, we're going with this other guy. And all along, I should have known, like, look, 85 a person is not my game.
Right.
Because it took my energy away. It took my time, but I just couldn't see that.
Well,
I
but
just
that
wanted to, I wanted to stay.
it's introspective. It's you being able to say that's not my game, right? And a lot of people, when they try to move upscale, they think raising your price is moving upscale, but it's not. It's your website, it's your marketing, it's the way you dress, it's the way you respond to them, it's the way they expect to be treated. When Toyota came out with Lexus, they wanted to make their dealerships be different than Toyota dealerships, but they didn't go look at Mercedes and BMW. They went to Ritz-Carlton and said, where do our customers, our target customer, where do they experience luxury experiences? At Ritz-Carlton, at fancy restaurants. That's what they did. And they said, well, let's create that type of an experience in the car dealership. So when they come in, it's like, yes, this is the place we're supposed to be. Kleinfeld's, a big dress shop in New York, very famous, world famous dress shop in New York. I was in there, gosh, this is a long time ago, when they were building their new, I think it's on 21st Street in New York, this beautiful new showroom. They had a Las Vegas hotel architect, designer, design the space, not a bridal shop designer. They had a Las Vegas hotel, like the Wynn and the Bellagio or whatever, and create this concierge experience so people would come in, the upscale customer would feel like, yes, this is what I'm used to, instead of it feeling like bargain basement when they're trying to charge big dollars.
Right.
It's got to
And
fit.
Exactly, and you just basically you're confusing yourself. You know how we
Yeah.
said stay focused. You know
Stay in
your
your lane.
target audience.
Hmm.
Just it's so much. It makes the selling easier. So just take this message from me, guys, because I was in the catering game for a long time. Now
Hmm.
that Alan and I started talking, it brought all this memories back. I should have just been the. I mean, I was the
Right.
affordable guy, but I couldn't say no to business. It was
Right.
in my blood. I couldn't say no to business. I'm on top of Google. I'm getting all these calls. I just couldn't say no. But if I would have said no and just stayed in my lane, I would have closed 100 more deals a year.
Right.
At least.
Know who
At
you are.
least.
It's hard, especially when you're new. It's hard to say no to business. But then
Yeah.
you learn, like you learned, I should say no to that $75 business because that's not my lane. Let somebody else
No.
have that. And then tell the
Yeah.
customer, listen, let me refer you to my friend. They'll do a great job for you.
Yeah.
And when you need what I do, come
Yeah.
on back here. Come on back.
So
That's what I do.
$35 per person, Alan. We would do chicken, pasta, and buffet style.
Hmm.
2,500 would go in my pocket profit. 2,500 in one day. You
Yep.
know,
Yep.
that's not bad. You know how much lives and this and that we have to do to make $100? It's
Yeah.
it's like it's the no brainer now that I look at it. But when you're in the game, like you said, and especially starting out, you don't want to say no, but say no, stay in your lane, like Alan said,
Yep.
and you know.
Yeah. It's
So Alan,
important to go ahead.
talk about the book. What kind of deal you got going on?
So I have 5 books conveniently over here. There's my 5 books over there. One of them is actually called my most popular book called Shut Up and Sell More Weddings and Events. And there's a caterer and venue edition of that. If you go to my shop, which is just shopalanberg.com, so it's my name, shopalanberg.com, and you use the code webinar20, so WEBINAR 20, you'll save 20% off anything there. So I have the 5 different books. One of them is a website book called If Your Website Was an Employee, Would You Fire It? I have Your Attitude for Success. I have Shut Up and Sell More Weddings and Events. There's 3 versions, a DJ version, caterer version, and the regular version. I have Why Don't They Call Me, which is on how to respond to inquiries. And then I have Wit, Wisdom, and the Business of Weddings. If you prefer audio, they're on Audible. If you prefer Kindle, they're all on Kindle. But if you want a paperback, they're all over here. We do ship anywhere in the world. So if you want one of those. And then I have some workshops coming up, one on not getting ghosted. So if you just go to my website, alanberg.com, there's a resources page, or if you just want to go to alanberg.com/resources, you'll see the upcoming workshops. There's a group website review, and there's a master class, and then any other webinars and things I have. I actually have a free webinar tomorrow. It's 5 lessons learned from a year to forget. And it's things that we're a year. Al, you and I haven't seen each other in person for, it's almost exactly a year now.
Yeah.
And it's gone by fast, and it was painful for a lot of people, but I think there's some things that we can take from it and move forward with it, profiting. And that's what I'm going to talk about tomorrow. It's 5 lessons learned from a year to forget.
And you know, in crisis, always what happens in crisis? Opportunities comes out of nowhere. People that see that, like for example, right now, where are our eyes most of the time? It's
Right.
online. It's online, right? So
Yep.
take advantage of it. Learn how to learn how to do this Facebook ads. I have all the headline, I have the image. Just message me on Instagram. I'd be more than happy to share with you. And also, it's not just wedding season. St. Patty's Day is coming up in 7 days. And I've created this planner that's just for food entrepreneurs, and it reminds you of all these big days so you can start promoting. For example, I used to own a pizza shop, right? I didn't have corned beef on my menu. So the first year when I was running the shop, people were asking, hey, do you have corned beef sandwiches St. Patrick's? I'm like, no, sorry. And then the second year happened, I said, no, sorry. Third year, I'm like, what am I doing? Corned beef, I can go get corned beef. I watched a YouTube video. I learned how to make corned beef sandwiches, and we started killing it on St. Patty's Day because I started advertising it. I started doing catering packages. So if I created this planner, I get excited and I get off track. If you want this planner, Go to my profile page and go to my Instagram profile. You see a link right there. Go ahead and download it. It's going to save you so much time and worry. I mean, it's going to remind you for the big days, and where there's 365 post ideas just for food entrepreneurs. And you'll see some of them on my page because I share it. So if
Yeah.
you follow me,
Peanut butter day you had recently, right? Wasn't it peanut butter
yeah,
day or something like that?
yeah. And I saw your comment. So things like that, it engages customers. And I have challenges in there that I used to do. I used to have one challenge at my restaurant. We did a big euro challenge. So basically we made a big euro, and I had a customer come in and I had to finish it in 15 minutes, and I went live. It just creates buzz. And I did another Friday challenge, Alan. I call it, what did I call it? Friday challenge, go live and dance. Go live and dance. And this one of my customers, and I always tag my customers so they see it. One of my customers said, I want to do it. I want to come and go live. I'm like, okay. And I would give them free lunch. I would always incentivize them somehow.
Right.
So we went live, Alan, and she was so great. She did this dance. It was a line dance, cowboy line dance.
Uh-huh.
And I had no idea. She had a bunch of followers on Facebook, and they were local. Suddenly we got 4,000 views, and it was all because of her, because I tagged her and she shared it on her page. And what do you think happened? Suddenly, some people saw NYC Cafe. Who's NYC Cafe? So there's ideas like that in that planner. If you want to go ahead, go on my profile again and download it. And if you guys have ever any questions or concerns of what we talked about, I'm going to post this video because there's a way to save it after we go live here. I just have to figure it out. I haven't done it for a while. I think after I just exit out, we get this. So I'll take some pieces and I'll post it because we talked about a lot of cool things. With like wedding catering season is here. We talked about how with this one ad you can get leads every day. And Alan talked about what to say, what questions to ask, what to put in the subject line. And if you're not following Alan, go follow him on Instagram and you can message him. He's great. He always responds to any questions you have. He always gives value. And I really appreciate you, Alan, for being here. And I don't know if you have anything else you want to share or talk about, or I was going to end it at this.
Yeah, just any questions you have, you can message me here or just go to my website, alanberg.com. I write a free article every month. If you want to get that and updates on what other events I'm doing, just go to connectwithalanberg.com, and that'll add you to my list. Connectwithalanberg.com. Al, thanks so much for inviting me to do this. It's always great to see you.